And Lon Lockwood from Lon Lockwood Electric is with us here on Basket Road, lonlockwoodelectric.com, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
And we will put a link to that. We have it already on our website at propertysourceradio.com if you want to find out about the great work they do. Before we went to break, and a little bit earlier, I told you how I may have blown out my new fridge, my garage fridge, unheated garage. The freezer is not freezing anymore. In my store, I went to one of the big box stores, and they said there's nothing I can do about it. Yes or no?
Well, I mean, if I was to come to your house and I was going to start troubleshooting it, the first thing I'd do is make sure it's plugged in.
It's plugged in. The light goes on when I open the door. Right. Okay? But thank you. And I'm paying you for this?
Absolutely.
Well, this is $20. Keep going.
You'd be surprised at how many times something really simple like the blown light bulb
I can
or
dig
it's not
that.
plugged in or tripped GFI. Mm-hmm. But, if it's got electricity to it, that's where my expertise with your refrigerator stops.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. I don't know anything about appliances.
Okay, but
I do know that if you go to Home Depot, when you go to Home Depot, maybe you got somebody who knows what they're talking about. Maybe you don't. You have no way of knowing. So if you wanted to find something for your refrigerator, I would recommend you go to an appliance store.
Aha. That's a good idea.
And then you're going to talk to a professional, somebody who really knows what they're talking about, and they know what they're talking about.
Home Depot is a great store, of course. I mean, we're not knocking them, of course. But again, it goes back to what we said with your operation and your business. A local guy always seems to know best.
Well, the professional knows best.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Lon, do you have any disaster stories that you can think of, the worst case story of job you've ever gone on that just pops into your head? Something just like horrendous, like you got to just tell us the story because it's so unbelievable.
Well, I mean, I go into a lot of scary jobs, if that's what you're talking about.
Sure, you could throw out one of those and tell us a story about. Just it's something I like to learn about other people's line of work.
Well, here's a do-it-yourself job. I hate to say it, but doctors seem to be the worst people.
Really?
They always want to do the electricity themselves, and I can't say all of them, but a lot of them.
I would have never thought of that, but go ahead.
And I had a doctor replace some switches, and he took the power and hooked it to the ground and did some other stuff. Long story short, everything metal in his house was alive with electricity.
Oh my!
Stuff
like my goodness.
The banister rail, if it was connected to the ground system of the house, the plumbing system. Everything.
Holy cow.
That's some pretty scary stuff, do-it-yourself stuff.
Yeah. The three-way switches where you've got one switch at the top of the stairs and one switch at the bottom of the stairs that controls the same light. It's called a three-way switch. Yeah. I screw those up every time. I can't make that happen to save my life.
They're difficult. They are difficult.
To replace, if you're going to replace it,
So do you think, are you good at that stuff, Pat? Do you think you are?
I can do a little bit of basic electricity, but my father's a retired union electrician.
Okay.
And so I usually dump it on him. Dad, I can't, I played a little bit, but I can replace a switch or a plug. In fact, I don't turn the breaker off. Sometimes I do it hot just to challenge myself. That's bad.
See, he's the worst. He's the worst. He's the kind of guy that you want to sit down and rattle him and say, "Let me take care of this because I know what I'm doing."
He's the guy we go behind.
And fix.
Absolutely.
I think your wife called.
Yeah, she might have been there when I wasn't home.
I wanted to talk with you about something that we're considering doing at home. We live in an old house. Folks who listen to the show know that. It's 80 years old, and we have an electrical issue in that when I fire up the toaster and the coffee maker, both on the same plug, I pop a circuit all the time. Julie has this hair dryer that is constantly blowing out circuits. And I guess we're considering having the whole thing done. Is that a big job and is that an expensive job? And do you do that sort of thing?
Absolutely. That is exactly what we do. And it can be a big job. I mean, it's going to be a pretty sizable job.
1,300 square foot house, not that big, but very old.
But your house was built 80 years ago, you said? Mm-hmm. So your electrical system was designed for a house 80 years ago. And 80 years ago, there wasn't very much electricity. They had a couple outlets in each room and a light fixture. Yeah. You had a refrigerator, maybe an electric stove.
No hair dryer.
No. No Keurig. I mean, that just seems to soak up a lot of power.
No hair dryer, no microwave, no air conditioning system. And a lot of these things take a lot of power. So just replacing your box will not solve your problems. Mm-hmm. Replacing the box is always a good idea, especially if it's old or if there's any problems with it. But you need to have some more circuitry installed into your house. Run a new circuit for the microwave and for the countertop outlets, your Keurig. Run a new circuit to the bathroom for the hair dryer. And
I mean, just
anything
alone
else,
the power strip for the TV has 6 things plugged into it. You know,
well, that in itself isn't bad, as long as it's not a giant circuit that also has the whole upstairs on it as well.
yeah. How long does it take to do?
To replace your electrical service, most cases, 1 day. In fact, it's always 1 day, because once we start, you don't have any electricity until we finish. So we don't stop until you're done.
Is it one of those jobs where you go, oh boy, we got one of these to do? We're going to do. I mean, is it? And I'm not holding you to a price, but it's pricey.
Yeah, it can be. It can be on the more expensive side.
But it's worth it.
Absolutely, done right.
From a real estate standpoint, Pat, I'm sure that just upgrading the electrical is a selling point.
Right, exactly. Which is obviously you're adding more power to the house, essentially, in a nicely said, right? I mean, you're
Absolutely.
adding extra capacitance or extra load of availability, so you can plug in 12 microwaves, really.
I was on your...
I wouldn't go with
Go
that.
ahead, I'm sorry.
As long as you've got the proper circuitry coming out of the box. There's different kinds of boxes, too. Not all boxes are created equal. You can get inexpensive boxes that are made out of aluminum, and they're going to have a short life, 20 to 30 years, if it's normal use and there's not much moisture in the basement. And then you can get a copper box that'll have a good lifetime guarantee with it that'll last you 60, 70 years.
See, I think I have a short life, so I'm not worried about...
Yeah, I wouldn't go for
I'm not going copper.
Don't bother.
Well, the advantage...
But I understand, yeah.
The advantage of copper is we replace panels often, and most of them are aluminum, and it's because they burn. Okay, copper panels almost never burn. In 22 years of working, I've had one copper panel that I've seen burn, and we do about 30 or 40 aluminum panels a year that burn. Most of them, when they burn, it's a nuisance. They burn inside the panel and destroy the panel, and you don't have power, but they don't burn a house down. Every now and then they get out of that panel box.
Yeah.
So, cost is not everything. Copper is better just for a safety standpoint.
You get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for.
Yeah. Phone number for Lon Lockwood Electric is...
585-766-4787.
And the website is lonlockwoodelectric.com. And we have a link to that website at our propertysourceradio.com website so you can find out more. I know you're very, very green as well. I did see that on the website. You have tips for going green. Now, Pat is about as green as the other side of a $5 bill. I'm not talking about the green side, but Alex is all about green. So it's give me one green tip before we go to break.
One green tip are the compact fluorescent light bulbs to replace your existing light bulbs. They use about a tenth of the power. A 60-watt light bulb uses 60 watts of power. The equivalent in the compact fluorescent uses about 15 watts.
Is that the squiggly one?
That's the squiggly one.
Right.
Okay.
They come in many different colors because people say they don't like fluorescent light, but you can get them in any shade that you want now. But they also put a less demand on your house, which prolongs the life of your electrical system as well.
Right, Pat, do with that as you please.
I will, thank you.
I guarantee he's the guy who has hoarded regular incandescent
All the
light bulbs.
polluting light bulbs?
I guarantee it. He has a closet full of Sylvanias.
Actually, just the opposite. I actually replaced most of the lights
really?
in my house the day I moved in because I moved from one house that I stood in the house and I couldn't count 6 light bulbs. The new house I moved into, I stood in the kitchen and saw 25 light bulbs on at one time, and I got scared to death. I drove right down to the store and bought a whole bunch of those things. So that's why I did
Well,
that.
there goes my birthday gift to you.
Sorry.
Lon Cameron Lockwood, thanks for joining us. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Did you have a good time? You get good marks? Do we get good marks? And always, there'll be a survey that we hand out for your a satisfaction survey that we hand out after every segment. So
Absolutely. I'll give you a good marks.
Great. Coming up from Remax First, we're going to meet Jeremiah Monero. A lot of things I want to ask about the real estate market right now. When we come back for Property Source Radio, we're here till 10, so stay with us at Property Source Radio on Sports Radio 950 ESPN.